Thanks for listening to the Unscripted Dreams Podcast. If you enjoy the show and want more, please join us on Patreon for exclusive episodes and videos. If you're looking for episode clips, please check out our YouTube page at the Unscripted Dreams Podcast. Enjoy the show. Let's go.
As we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad. The day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard to see our way through. Beyond the norm and mundane are where unscripted dreams live. Join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. So today, our topic is literally about, quote unquote, it's not always about you.
It's not.
And you know, sometimes we have to a lot of times we got to remind ourselves that. A lot of times we got to remind the closest people to us about that. You know, whenever you might be making a decision that they feel like it's going to impact them, but realistically, it really don't. And sometimes it may impact them. And you may not be aware of those consequences at that given time, or maybe you don't care. But the main iteration or the common denominator is it's not about them. So we're going to get into that.
Absolutely. And that's the hard part, I think, for people to see sometimes is that, I think we get, we can, I think all of us are guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. Is that you get caught up in your own problems, your own issues, and at times you can fail to see what other people have going on because you think that everything revolves around you, when in fact, if you take a step back, you will find that some things just has nothing to do with you. And, you know, these certain circumstances, certain situations that arise, they aren't about you at all. Or you might be a part of something, but you're not as, not to say important, but your role in what's going on is not as significant as some of the other precipitating factors that might be present.
Perfect example, man. You can think of, for example, like, you know, the show like Bridezillas. You know, you might have like a sister or a best friend, and, you know, they already feel some type of way about you getting married. And it doesn't mean that they don't want you to get married or anything, but, you know, they're so controlling that they let that take over the main purpose of why they're there. You get what I'm saying? So A lot of people sometimes can't help themselves because they get overly excited of your experience. But the fact that they're involved, they feel like they got to be in control and stuff like that, when all they got to do is pretty much listen to the itinerary, listen to what the host or whatever you want to call the wedding planner, whatever, has to say. You know, they might try to impose their opinions on you when you've already made some sound decisions with the person you're marrying. And it's just things like that can be very taxing at times, man. And I just felt like that was a great example to really like post or shed some light on how much people really think things are about them. And it's really not, you know, and these people are the main ones that get offended and be like, oh, I'm not going to be in the wedding no more because they won't let me have my way. And it's like, dude, really? It's not about you. Are you paying thousands of dollars for one freaking night? Not even a whole night, just for a few hours. Like, chill, buddy. So
yeah. Yeah. And that's a good example, Joe, is that people, I think in our minds, sometimes we like to think that we matter more than other people, and that our presence or our participation in something is greater or holds more value than the participation of other people that are involved as well. And sometimes you just need to just sit back, go along for the ride, and just let these people do what they want to do, and let them have, like, as you're referring to, like Bridezillas, and, you know, that whole concept of, you know, people getting married and having their day, you know, just let them, like, that's what they have planned, that's what they want. Stay out of it. Just go along for the show. If they're doing something that you don't agree with, then bow out. But let them do whatever they want to do. If they're not hurting anybody, even if it sounds stupid or you think it's a waste of money, it's not a waste of your money. Let them waste their cash. You know, so you know, that's on those folks. And that's a good example, Joe. So, Joe, I do have a question for you. Have you, Like, man, I feel like sometimes I'm just minding my business, man. Like, just minding my business, going about my day. I'm dealing with my own problems that I have in my head. And then out of nowhere, this person that I don't know very well, I might work with them, I might interact with them minimally. And then these folks they'll just come up to you and they'll just dump all their problems on you or their most pressing issue on you. And sometimes that happens. I'm like, why am I the chosen one for you to share all your like most sensitive personal issues with me? Does that happen to you?
Yeah, and I kind of feel attacked because I feel like that's me when I talk to you about things, man. But I get that a lot, and some days I avoid it. Other days I just take it just because I know how much it means to that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing is that I'm not gonna say exactly where I was at, but I was somewhere, I was just going about my business, doing what I do. And this person started just telling me about like what I thought to be some serious stuff that trumped everything that I have going on. If you got somebody in a situation where, you got, significant issues that, might result in like loss of life or something like that. But, I'm sitting there, I was like, man, I'll sit here, I'll just listen to what you have to say. And, that's about it. I might not have anything to say in response to maybe, comfort you or anything like that. But, it's like, and that's happened to me in the past 3 weeks. That's happened to me once every week is that somebody just comes up to me with some stuff. And I'm like, why did you choose me? Is it because I just sit there and listen to what you have to say? Or am I just the lucky like participant in your life that you feel the need to share these things with? Uh, but I think what's important about that is that, sometimes I think maybe with me, probably with you as well, Joe, is that sometimes people see you as, you're good at listening. You don't always necessarily have the need to talk. And, they just need to they got to let somebody know, what's going on. And I think that's when it's important, I think, to understand that it's not always about you, because sometimes it's just important to just listen to what somebody else has going on, because sometimes you got to get something off your chest. You might not need anybody to respond or give you any advice. You just kind of need to speak on things. And I think that's therapeutic for some people. And that's probably why I think you and I, Joe, get chosen for that, probably more than what we would like. But I think that's more of just our character.
What if I told you the people that I want or desire to allow, like people that I would be more than happy to accept them venting in that manner towards me, and I would be able to like take that on the chin all day, every day? Those people really never vent to me. It's always the people that I hardly ever talk to that just diarrhea at the mouth, blah, 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 blah. And it's crazy, man. Like, I'm not mad about it because you need to talk to somebody at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the people that I really would like lay out for, they don't, I don't hear about things until it's either afterwards or like it's too late. And I'd be getting pissed off at them because I'd be like, man, where was you at? Like, you could have told me this like a long time ago. And I don't know, man, my life is just weird like that. I don't know if it's because of my actions and how I carry myself. I know I don't vent to people myself too much. And if I do, and you're hearing this, you're probably very special to me. So I think you should probably take that into consideration. I've always been known to have a poker face at all times and not show little to no emotion. So, man, all in all, what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, or what I'm really trying to say is like, you can't really pick or choose who's going to vent to you at any given time. You either listen to it or you don't. It's really at your own expense. But at the same time, you sometimes you really have to like say time out, pause, like hold up, because some of that stuff be like so overwhelming. There's a lot of people that vent to me that I don't even know how they got from point A to all the way to G. I only understand or comprehend A to C because they're leaving out key details to get all the way from A to G. And that's another frustrating thing. So if you're going to vent, give the person all the details so they can really help you out. Don't just vent to people and you're missing key details, because if someone's outside looking in and they're actually listening and comprehending what you're saying, they may not correct you or say anything about it, but they're going to be turned off from you talking to them immediately, because their depiction of what the story you're telling them, they can really paint a picture out and know that there's some key detail missing. So, this episode is really it's not about you, but like that's one of the key factors. If you're gonna make something about you, at least give us the details, man. Don't don't just withhold information. We can't help you out if you don't be legit or genuine with us per se.
Yeah. And sometimes you're trying to skew the story in your favor by leaving out key points and details.
Anybody that knows me, if I vent, I'll tell you exactly what I did wrong. And I usually say that right from the get-go. I throw disclaimers out there like, oh, I did this and I did that. Now this is the story. A lot of people don't do it because they're ashamed. They I don't know, for whatever reasons, people feel shameful about some of the things they do. I feel shameful about a lot of things I do as well, but it doesn't do me any justice, and it doesn't do the next person justice that's trying to help me out, or at least listen to what I got to say to help me brainstorm, if I'm leaving out key detail. It's just like you talking to a lawyer when the lawyer says, tell me everything. Whether you're guilty or not, that's their job to come up with that alibi, whether if they're good at what they do. But they need that information. You got to cough it up, homie.
Oh, man, the life of a lawyer.
Habitual liars.
All right, so keeping with the theme of this, y'all have a story if we had time.
Let's get it.
All right, so I'm gonna go back in time. We'll go back in time on this. This time I'm gonna take it all the way back to like high school.
1979. Oh, okay.
All right, yeah, man. It wasn't even in the 19s. This is the 2000s, man. But anyway, like many people, my parents separated when I was pretty young. I think I was I don't know how old I was exactly, but probably around the age of 5. But anyway, what ended up happening, my parents separated, it happens. And I went to live with my dad. My brother and I went to live with our dad like full time. So he's a single father, raising the both of us around in like Cleveland, Ohio, right in that area. But during that time, my dad for the most part, I mean, he just goes to work, handles business. He doesn't date or anything, during this time, at least to my knowledge. So. For me, I'm 13, 14, things like that. Then, my dad just, one day he introduces me to this woman who becomes my stepmother, my mother, as I refer to her for the rest of this episode. But, I'm thinking, my dad meets somebody, he introduces us, things work out. Then I find out, a little bit after that, they're going to get married, and we're going to relocate from Cleveland to Detroit. Now, I grew up in Cleveland. I've been there since I was, 4 or 5, and now I'm 13. I'm probably 13 at the time, about to turn 14. And, for me to get this news, I have to move to Detroit. Like, I ain't happy about this at all, like at all. And I wasn't happy for like my dad and my mother. It's just that, like, Joe, man, I had plans. All right, I had plans.
Yeah, man. You got friends that you have to leave behind. You got all kind of things, man.
So for me, around this time, like, I was really getting into sports. Like, when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I tried out for basketball. I got cut on the first cut in 7th grade. 8th grade, I made it like second cut, and then I ended up wrestling. So I was getting better, and I was thinking about, like, when I go to high school, things are going to be a lot different. I'm going to do all this stuff in high school, I played football. I remember getting a letter in the mail for tryouts. I was going to play basketball. And, for me, I wanted to play, I wanted to hoop more than anything else. And then, like I said, when I found out I was going to have to move to Detroit, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy about that at all, just because, you're leaving everything behind. And when you grow up there and in my family, I had a lot of family there. And it was like, man, I'm going to be away from, all these people that I grew up with. And like I said, I wasn't pleased with it. I was happy for my parents, but I wasn't pleased for what was going to happen in my life. So anyway, I finished up the 8th grade. I'm able to finish, what I have going on. And then, I moved to Detroit. But before then, I'm outside. I'm at the park every day hooping. I'm getting there 8 a.m. I'm hooping till it's dark outside. And I'm getting to the point now, there's a point when you, if you play basketball, there's a point to where you're playing with basketball with people your age, and then you're good enough to start playing with the older people and the grown men. And I was getting to the point to where I was able to hoop. I was beating people that played on the basketball team, and I was hooping with the grown men. So I wasn't getting a lot of touches, but I wasn't sitting on the sideline, and I was at least good enough to get picked up and run with them. So I knew I was making some progress. But anyway, I moved to Detroit a month, not a month, but probably a couple of weeks before I started high school. And, I get to Detroit, I get to high school, and all those ambitions and everything I thought about sports, extracurricular activities, that stuff was gone. It was really gone for the most part. I was done. I was done with enjoying high school. I was done with having a good time playing sports, doing all this extracurricular stuff. I literally went to orientation and I checked out. I checked out. I was like, I'm just going to go to school. Do I have to do? I'm going to get out of there. So, that was really what I did. I went to school, I went to class, and I left. And that was really, I never went to homecoming. I never went to any sports games. I never went to really any of that stuff. And, I found myself to where I actually did decent in school academically. Now academically, I did well. I was in National Honor Society by default. I graduated top 10 in my class. I got academic scholarships. I got recognized for being one of the top students in the city and things like that. But these were all things that they kind of made me I was kind of forced into doing that I didn't want to do. There was a situation where I think one of the administrators wanted me to take a picture in the yearbook, and I was ducking and dodging. I was to the point where I could go to the library, I could duck out in the study hall, I could sneak into the classroom, and they threatened to suspend me if I didn't go take this picture. And Joe, did you have in your high school? Did you have were you able to have quotes underneath your picture or something?
Yeah, man. I don't even remember what my quote was, but yeah.
So my time, when I took that picture, my picture that's in my yearbook, they take you in this room and they have these cap and gowns that are for general use. And I didn't care. I didn't get my hair cut. So I got this goofy picture with this cap and gown on that doesn't really fit me. And I put on the paperwork for them to put on my, in my yearbook, I put no comment, no quote. I had no quote. So in my yearbook picture, there's a picture of me with my hair sticking out the sides of the cap and gown because I didn't care to get my hair cut. And it says underneath my name in quotations, it says no quote. I think somebody's trying to be funny, but it looks pretty stupid. If I'll show you the picture, it's comical how bad it looks. But anyway, outside of that, man, I do stuff I went to prom only because I just wanted to see what the experience was about. But I probably went for after 5 minutes, I went and sat down at the table for the rest of the night and just waited. I was just waiting to go, wishing I would have just stayed home and played Halo or 2K or something like that. But it was really a situation where I just was forget high school. I'm gonna move past this thing and I'm gonna go on and do something else, which was in total, I was looking at the optimism that I had going into high school versus what happened once I left. Once I got there and I transitioned. So, I graduated from high school. The best day of high school for me was my last day of high school because I never had to go back there. But I get probably fast forward 2 months, and my grandmother passes away, and this is my dad's mother. So I have a really good relationship with her. And, I'm thinking about, this is the grandparent that I'm able to spend the most time with, you know, and, you know, she passes away 2 or 3 weeks before I go to college. And I remember, and my grandmother's the reason I went into like healthcare and study health, because I figure, you know, my grandma was sick for a while. I figure, well, if I go to school, I get the knowledge, you know, I'll be able to, you know, prevent somebody else from, you know, losing somebody that they care about. So that was, I mean, someone that was very like special to me. So I remember going to the funeral, and this is like 2, 3 weeks before I go to college. And I'm standing at a distance. We're at the cemetery. I'm standing at a distance, and I'm looking at my dad and my mother standing together. And I have this thought at this moment that, you know, like what would have happened if, you know, my dad would have opted, or they would have agreed for me to stay in Cleveland when I finished high school. And then my grandmother passes away right before I leave, you know, right before I leave for school. And then maybe their relationship doesn't work out because of that decision. And then I leave as soon as my grandmother passes away. And then my dad's by himself and I'm gone, you know? So in that moment, like all the any residual effects that I had, any residual feelings about me being upset about moving and relocated from Cleveland to Detroit, I let all that go right there in that moment, because right then I realized that, you know, even though I was upset, and even though, you know, like my high school experience didn't work out how I wanted to, you know, in that moment, I realized that this, like all this stuff that transpired with me moving, like this really wasn't, like everything's not going to be about me, you know? And, you know, I had to understand that, because I was happy that my parents could have each other and that I wasn't in a situation where I left and my dad was by himself because, you know, I fought to kind of stay where we were at, or I was, you know, creating more issues than what I had, you know, than what where it was even necessary at the time. And, you know, I feel like that, you know, that's something that's important, you know, to think about, is that like we never understand the sacrifices that other people make for us. I'm sure like our parents, if we have good parents, they've made sacrifices for us that we know about, and they've done things that we don't know about, you know? So, you know, I think we all have to kind of take those things into consideration when you get so caught up in yourself that you forget that not like your parent might be a parent, but they're also like, they might also be like a husband or a wife.
At one point in time, they was in the same boat you in.
Yeah. So that was just, man, I talked for a long time on that, but
People need to hear that, man. That's a rites of passage that you pretty much just shared, and I appreciate you for sharing that, because, you know, it all ties into the whole episode, man. Like it took all that time and all that growth and all that hurt for you to realize that maybe this shit ain't always about me. And sometimes that, you know, that's very prevalent. Like I could even share stories that are just as heartfelt, where you don't figure out what you're doing or how your attitude has impacted this whole time. And then when something devastating happens or a few situations occur, then it finally clicks in your brain like, oh, that's why this person's here, or that's why this happened this way. I mean, it happens all the time. It happens to the best of us.
yeah. And I really think that that's important, because we get, like I was saying earlier, you know, we just get so consumed. We get so consumed and caught up. And especially when you're younger too, like if you're a kid, man, you just think that stuff, like that high school stuff, is so,
You think it's going to last forever.
And it's not. Like, you watch Napoleon. Have you seen Napoleon Dynamite, Joe?
Love that movie.
All right,
Love
so
it.
look, after you watch that movie and your brain cells, a few of your brain cells die, you think about the uncle who was in his 40s, and he's reliving his high school, like his glory years, and he's sitting outside his it's not even a trailer, it's like a mobile. It's just like a
van,
RV, like a van, and he's making these videos of him throwing the ball, and he's like caught up in that. And I think that, you know, you just get so consumed in the moment, and you think all these things are just they're so important to you, to you, and you don't think about all the other people that are involved and all the things that, other people have going on as well. And, that's the big thing. Like, I think about like all those years, just growing up, and it was just me. Like, it would just be me, my dad, and my brother just going to do stuff and all this, all these other things he had going on. But, and just knowing that all he was doing was taking care of us and that was it. But, like, he's still a person, he still wants, like, outside of being a father, there's still other things that he wants as well. And, and it's unfair, especially when you're a kid, you're not paying for anything. Where you get housing, you're getting food, you're getting all this stuff. You might not think you're getting enough of it, but you're getting quite a bit, and there's things that you don't have to worry about. And you think about, all this stuff that, has to be done, like your parents, and they deserve happiness too. And it shouldn't be like, sometimes you gotta go and, you got to make that move. You got to do your bid. I wish if I could go back in time. I'm sure I think I went along with what was going on, but it was like, like it is what it is. I mean, it kind of is what it is now, but, I always feel like if I could go back in time, I'd probably be like, all right, Dad, let's go. I'm ready. Let's get up out of here. But, you know, but I think everything, when you look at stuff, sometimes you think that some things aren't about you, but as a result of me moving, I did like very well in high school, like very well, much better than I was doing before we moved. Cause I went to school and I had that singular focus on academics and getting out of there. So what happens if I stay and I'm playing sports? Maybe I don't do as well. Maybe I'm too distracted with what's going on. So that allowed me an opportunity to really focus in and excel academically, which led the way for me having scholarships and having these other opportunities to essentially, I was accepted to every college I applied to. So I had the option, to go where I wanted. But, when you think outside of yourself, I think that's something that, we should all do. And sometimes I think you might find the opposite. Sometimes you might find that it's not all about the person who's trying to make it all about them, and that person needs to be a little bit more understanding of what you're dealing with on your end as well. So I think it goes both ways, but you have to have the ability to reflect on your situation.
Without a doubt, man. Man, there's so many things. There's so many scenarios I could really speak on and talk about with my life experience, as far as me having those quote unquote coming to Jesus moments where it's like, Joe, what are you doing? This isn't about you. And there's been other situations where I've had to break it down to people and be like, look, bruh, this ain't about you. Like, I understand that you care about my well-being, blah, blah, blah. But this decision needs to happen because this is what I see as far as being beneficial to my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And sometimes you can't be afraid to cut your losses. Sometimes you do have to cut off your arm to save the rest of the body. I hate to say that statement because it doesn't have to be that serious, but sometimes some people put that pressure on you and you got to do what's best for you. Yeah. Vice versa.
Yeah. So, Joe, I'm going to close on this, but just, if you're listening to this, just, take a moment, think about something that maybe you were upset about that involves somebody else doing something, and, really ask yourself, is it even worth being upset about? Is it something that you can just let go? Have you been able to move on? And what positive, what you thought was perhaps a negative ended up being a positive in another way, like, I think about if I never moved to Detroit, I definitely wouldn't have met Joe, and you definitely wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now. Like, that definitely wouldn't have happened. So, you have to think, like, just take an opportunity, maybe something that you're bitter about from when you were younger, maybe you're bitter about currently. And, that's an opportunity for you to gain perspective on something. And maybe it's an opportunity for you to enlighten somebody else on something that's going on as well. But, I'll close on that, Joe.
Well, Well, with me putting the cherry on top of this episode, hey man, you're gonna do what you want to do, but the best thing that's gonna teach you is time. Time is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. So you can keep making all the mistakes you want, but time gonna prove everything. So just be careful about the decisions you make. Don't make no irrational decisions because somebody didn't piss you off or somebody done did something to you. It'll come full circle. It may not hit today. It might not hit next week. It might not even hit in the next 2 years. But sometimes some of them situations happen where you've made assumptions and made an ass of yourself, or somebody done something to you to where you wouldn't have got to where you are if them situations didn't occur. It's all a learning curve.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah. But I mean, I could talk about this for hours. But this ain't no bonfire, and I'm not sitting next to anybody talking about this. I'm talking on the computer to my buddy on the recording. So with that being said, man, I hope you guys enjoy and appreciate this stuff, man. And we just gonna keep rolling.
All right. Take care. Be safe.
Peace. Gapstone.